And welcome to the Anglesey Racing Circuit here at Track Mon at the coastal circuit configuration for the Porsche Boxster Cup race one of the weekend. My name is Andy Webster. I'm here to commentate over all of today's proceedings, but joining me for all the Porsche races is Paul Jerd. Welcome back, Paul.
And it's a delight to be back here as we've already got this field of identical Boxster S 3.2 litre cars all on the grid. A little different to the other Porsches racing today that these are actually on treaded tyres. And we've got a lot of relative novices out there. We'll see quite a few of those little black crosses on a yellow background. One car very slow, actually. Mike Thompson very slow to get off the line on the green flag lap. But if you're going to make a bad start, get it over with on the green flag lap. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely, and actually it was Perry Darling who got slightly an over-ambitious start and probably ought to wait for the car in front of him to get launched. It was a little bit hairy as he had to split between the two front row drivers. Yeah, a nice field of 12 cars, of 12 Boxsters here, Boxsters for a 25-minute race around the Anglesey coastal circuit. And we are looking to show you the grid now. Just a lot of dust on the entry into the banking corner, as you will have seen just now. But Jonathan Lovell claimed the pole position with a 1:18.815, and he's in car 21 in the silver with sort of Martini-esque colour accents across the sides and wheels. Then in the current Porsche racing colours, the white with red and black trim, is Mike Thompson in car 6. He got a 1:18.890. Very, very close between the two of them for that pole position and second place. And on row 2, Sarah Thompson is in car 90 with Perry Darling, who managed to launch himself away from the start very well there in car 81 on row 2. On row 3, we have Matt Goff, who drives car 46. And next to him, Faye Noble-Evans, who drives car 20. And they were about 1.5 seconds off that pole position. On row 4, Eric Bridges in car 38, and Jessica Wilkinson on position 8, car 33. Then on the penultimate row of the grid, we will find in 9th place Zoe Kyle-Henny and Vikram Sudera. And on the final row of the grid, Phil Graham starts 11th, and Sarah Wood will take us away from the rear of the field, but be hoping to be building experience, Paul, throughout the course of this weekend.
Very much so. We've actually got, I think it's 3 or 4 drivers out there who literally had their first ever car race with us at the beginning of the season. So this is literally for people like Sarah Wood, Jess Wilkinson, Zoe Kyle-Henny. This is literally race number 5 ever. Mm-hmm. So it's really kitting in it, not quite at the deep end. That's not fair, but it's the steep stage, shall we say, of that learning curve. But it's all good experience. It's all time in the car, and we are in an identical field, so there's plenty of benchmarks out there. And typically, we usually find that everyone has someone to race against. So it's going to be interesting. 25 minutes is actually a relatively long time for a race. So it's if we are lapping in the 120s, which we were across qualifying, I think we're going to see a goodly number of laps. We might actually get over 20 laps out of this, which is going to be quite interesting.
Well, lots of spectators enjoying the race today. We've got a beer in the sunshine. I'm sure that's a very nice place to be watching, just at the top of the corkscrew with the views over the ocean. And over towards Snowdon and the Snowdonia mountain range. Mike Thompson just nosing ahead there as he gets towards his grid position. We will start side by side and slightly staggered for this grid on the main grid hatchings here at Anglesey. And actually, car 21 right on the very limit of what's permissible in terms of being his forward positioning.
Shush, don't tell everybody.
And about 2 meters back is car 90 from where it ought to be. So Sarah Thompson may need to just have that one. We're looking for the race start then shortly. Looks like we're under starters orders, and it will be Jonathan Lovell on the inside, who gets a very similar, very boggy start to the race. Way too much wheel spin, and Mick Thompson straight into the lead, and joined by Perry Darling, who was out like a brilliant scalded calf very early on, and gets himself right up into the mix. And it's Jonathan Lovell still defending then hard down into the braking zone of the banking, getting a good entry actually, and should be able to get a good launch coming out. But Perry Darling it's up into second place.
It's Mike Thompson. Jonathan Lovell was actually third in that car with those very distinctive blue wheels.
Yeah.
So fantastic performance. But he's right with Perry Darling as they're actually coming through Church. trying to get alongside but not quite making it, all of which is letting that leader, Mike Thompson, extend his lead. And behind them we see Sarah Thompson in the yellow and red car sail past Vikram Sudera.
Absolutely. Some cars at the rear of the field just taking it fairly easy going on in as Jonathan Lovell outbrakes himself in a big way into Rocket In, and we've got a spinner. We've got a spinner and we've got contact. Oh dear, that is the yellow and red liveried car crunching into the 46 Goff car. Unfortunately, Goff unhappy, and he's just waving to the marshals. He's perfectly all right, or he's all right enough to be gesticulating wildly, but there will be a yellow flag there at very least. But that's a very ugly looking Boxster, Paul.
It is, yeah. It's certainly not. It's actually, I was about to say, certainly not moving under its own steam as it does so. So we're hoping that it can be crawled back. We're also hoping it doesn't leave a trail of anything behind it.
Yeah, so leading into lap 2, it will be, to start lap 2, it will be Thompson from Darling, 0.7 of a second, and then back Lovell down 2 positions, but Vikram Sudera up 6 on that opening lap into 4th position. Then is Noble Evans and Bridges, Wilkinson, Thompson moving down 5, and Kyle Henney, Graham Wood, but we won't see Goff, who's down at the rear of the field, and we may not see. Well, actually, Wood has managed to complete, and Sarah Thompson still circulating despite having crunched into that Boxster earlier of Goff.
Yep, the aerodynamics on her car aren't quite what she'd expect when she's back out there, and it certainly seems to be able to hold the pace. So
starting to look like a TVR. That Boxster now.
The 46 car actually starting to crawl back. Yeah, Sarah Thompson with a lot of pace, to be quite honest. Let's hope that isn't too much damage. Essentially, the car is basically her and her dad running it, so they haven't exactly got the biggest of teams behind them. But
38 is defending hard here. That's Eric Bridges defending hard from Wilkinson and from Sarah Wood as well. So moving themselves around. Sorry, was that Thompson? It was
Sarah Thompson.
It was Sarah Thompson, one of the Sarahs, shall we say? But Sarah managing to move past car 33 Wilkinson with respective ease as Lovell continues on the hunt, and there is the 46 of Matt Goff, who's had to come into the pits, of course. It might be that he could get that back running for some test laps, but at the end of lap 2, it is Mike Thompson from Perry Darling, then Lovell, Sudera, Noble Evans and Bridges. Sarah Thompson moving up a position against Wilkinson, who's deposed down to 8th, and then Kyle Henney and Graham with Wood at the tail of the field at the moment. Not circulating at the fastest of speeds, but presumably just, again, building that experience as we head on through with the leaders through Church Corner, and a good lead from Mike Thompson so far.
It is, very much so, actually. We keep a little bit of an eye there as well on Sarah Thompson, who might have had that contact at the top of the hill, and has since taken 2 places past Eric Bridges on the first half of that lap as they're powering up towards Rocket In. Curious about that gap at the front, actually. Mike Thompson was taking the advantage of the 2 cars, Perry Darling and Jonathan Lovell behind him, having a little bit of a battle to ease that gap out at the front to a second now.
Absolutely, yeah. 1 second as they crossed the line the last time round, and it looks like 38 looking very slow out of Rocket In. Maybe that's a defensive line, but 38 Bridges struggling to find
Jess Wilkinson right alongside.
Yeah.
Again, another driver in just her 5th race, and she's sitting it out all the way around the inside. If she can hold that position as they go down the hill, that's fantastic driving to take the position. Fantastic move.
It really was. It's very difficult to hold it around the outside appeal, and the approach into the corkscrew is obviously compromised, but we've got a real battle going on for second place, and Jonathan Lovell has spun 90 degrees to the track surface, just about rescued it before he hit the wall, but there you have him. Unfortunately, he was so close behind second place Darling that I think perhaps lost a little bit of sight, or possibly a little bit of aero, and managed to spin the car on exit of target.
That's right. I think that's the first mistake we've seen all season from Johnny Lovell.
Oh, wow.
He's been first or second all the way through, and that's actually dropped him right back into the clutches of the battle behind. So he's coming actually in front of Faye Noble Evans with a rapid Sarah Thompson, who's reeling Faye in right behind her.
Sarah Thompson absolutely on the ascendancy here. She's already a place up from where she started. I don't think there was much she could have done at the top of the hill to hit the entry, to hit Mike Goff. It was almost something you just couldn't correct for, to just find somebody at 90 degrees to the racing direction at the top of the crest of the hill.
No, but I think Sarah's probably overtaken more cars in this series than anyone else so far. She's had a few little unfortunate first lap incidents, but my by Crivens. Can she race and can she overtake cars? As we've seen now, she's absolutely reeled Faye Noble-Evans in the tight twisting section in the second half of the lap.
That's going on at the same time as at the lead of our race. We've also got a real catching from Perry Darling, and there goes Sarah Thompson into target corner and getting on through, and Sarah Thompson getting up against Noble-Evans and into 5th position and moving forward once again. Looks like race pace is at her absolute specialty, and that's where the points are paid.
Very, very much so, to be quite honest. Absolutely fantastic performance there from Sarah. So she's very, very quick. But we need to keep an eye on that lead, because that gap to the leader is almost halved, with Perry Darling starting to close back in on Mike Thompson. Yeah,
I think maybe Mike Thompson had a slightly poor lap, because he's suddenly he's inching away again as they approach the Rockets and into Rocket out now. Mike Thompson, I'm not sure. That does look quite close, though. Perry Darling managing to close the gap very nicely indeed, and we could have a real fight on our hands for the win here. As you can see, the little the toe tag on the front of the of Mike Thompson's car really flapping around here. It's not going to be helping the aero at the front of the car, but it's absolutely required for racing, as Perry Darling gets right close through the final corner and is visibly closer, and it's now under half a second, just under half a second between the two, as we continue to watch this battle at the front. But we're keeping tabs.
Battle for third comes onto the pit straight. Jonathan Lovell had a big look inside Vikram Sudera, but couldn't get away with it. Vikram holding him back, fine defensive driving, but that's actually letting Sarah Thompson in 5th and Faye Noble-Evans now in 6th close back in, so we could have a 4-car battle for third.
Jonathan Lovell driving angry, I think, possibly just angry with himself maybe, but certainly visibly pushing harder than anybody else, and a big spin coming out of the final corner. That's car 28. It's Graham.
Phil Graham spun into the pit wall, bounced back off it.
And he has hit the wall, right? Oh dear.
Yeah, it was into the pit wall, sideways on, so I don't think any huge, possibly bodywork damage. I hope Phil's okay in the car. That was quite a moment.
I can tell you're a car guy, because the first concern you had was the condition of the Boxster.
That's what's going to hurt his pocket,
yes.
Isn't it?
There's a pass for third position then. Lovell making the jump on Vikram Sudera's car 66, the white and purple roofed Boxster. Of course, well, they're all Boxsters, but Mike Lovell getting through and moving. Sorry, Jonathan Lovell getting through. And it was very close, and it still is very close, but they'll be approaching yellow flags now, and they won't be able to make the move. But here is then very close again, once again at the head of the field, but they will have to lift and not push too hard as they enter and exit the final corner and out of effectively the corkscrew. So there'll need to be a lift from the races, but Sarah Thompson is flirting with the race stewards there by remaining incredibly close to Vikram Sudera's 4th place currently, who has suddenly fallen back relative to Jonathan Lovell, who is managing to get away, but I don't think he's going to have time to catch the two leaders. Thompson and Darling miles ahead at this point, some 11 seconds from 3rd place Lovell, and we'll keep an eye then, continue to watch Sarah Thompson as she tries to find a way through past Vikram Singh, so the biggest overtaker in the series, and it seems to be adding to that tally throughout this race. The double yellow flags are still in order, but yeah, we've just received notification that the safety car will be joining us for the 3rd time of asking for today's races. So unfortunately, that will provide a pause in the racing, but not a pause on the race clock, Paul.
No, that 25 minutes will keep clicking down. So it's a bit of a strange position for the car. I think hopefully it can be retrieved relatively quickly, but again, we need that safety car out there. It gets all the cars and a train behind it. It gives a clear area of track for the marshals and the recovery to actually come out. So hopefully all the drivers are now getting that message. They seem to, as you say, Sarah Thompson very aggressive there with Vikram Sudera, but she should hopefully be seeing these yellows. She's tucked right up the back, actually, which does make it quite hard for her to see. But no, I think they're way off race pace now. So everyone tucked up. We're going to form up. But of course, everyone who's worked hard to put out a gap on the car behind, that's suddenly wiped out. Or anyone who's seen that car in front disappearing off into the distance, suddenly you're on their rear spoiler again. So it's the second we do actually have the safety car releasing the field for racing again, we are closed right up, and we could be on for a great showdown in the final laps.
We could indeed. I mean, I think the biggest smile under the helmet is going to be Johnny Lovell, who has just managed to see an 11-second gap to 2nd place close down to virtually nothing here on the car. So They're going to be nose to tail. Of course, we started with just 12 starters here in the Boxster Cup. We're down to 11 at most at the moment, as Phil Graham is just receiving some communication from the marshal, and the pickup truck and the recovery vehicle have arrived. Unfortunately, seems to be a bit of a pattern today. When drivers are losing it, they're losing it to such an extent that the car won't continue to limp home. Looks like a full lift recovery needed here, all four wheels.
Yeah, we had that earlier on in the first Porsche race of the day, which is the black 911 that was retrieved from the back of the circuit, and the driver gets out and gives that classic driver's shrug of what could I do and what happened, basically. But yeah, I think that was just slightly, possibly a little ambitious with the accelerator. The rear end of the car comes round as the car got straightened up. So hopefully not any major damage. The car's actually racing again this weekend, but that isn't until tomorrow, so they do have a little time to repair it. We've got the safety car train now formed up quite nicely. I think the entire field is behind it, so it's going to be leading them round. But as you say, the clock ticking down. We're now down to 13.5 minutes left, so we're nudging towards 50% of the race gone already. It's been a very exciting 50%, so I'm hoping that we can have as many racing laps as possible in the remaining minutes once we rejoin and this car is recovered.
Absolutely. Well, the beers are continuing to be drunk on top of the hill there by the spectators who are enjoying the sunshine and the racing. No end, I'm sure. Great place to be spending the day and the afternoon right now, especially in these gorgeous conditions.
I wandered up there yesterday afternoon, never having actually been up there before, and it is the most amazing viewing spot, because not only can you see that tight, tricky section from Rocket in, Rocket out, and through Peel and down the hill to the corkscrew, you can actually see across the circuit to a number of other areas of it. So it's a fantastic viewing position up there. So on a day like this, does life get better?
No, indeed. Well, we'll be looking at Sarah Thompson once again with her dented front end, still managing to put in the overtake moves and stay very, very close to Vikram Sedera. We're looking for Johnny Lovell as well, who is, you have to say, out of position. He qualified first, dropped down to third position. You just get a sneak little view on the camera there of the Snowdonia mountain range beyond the sea, and you can see just how clear a day it is here in northwest Wales.
As you say, the aerodynamics of Sarah Thompson's car probably less ideal than they were when they left the Porsche factory. But I've just checked; I think she's done the 4th quickest lap time.
Goodness me!
So there's sort of plenty of pace within Sarah. So always worth keeping. And as I commented earlier during qualifying, Sarah actually is completely deaf.
Yeah,
she's actually got a light system in the car to help her judge when to change gear, because obviously she can't hear the engine. But if you think about the implications, she can't hear the engine. She can't hear the tyre noise to know when the car is on the edge.
I would imagine she can feel the engine in the resonance through the machine, but actually the braking condition and work with it. Sometimes it's the squeak you need to know where the limit is.
So she's doing this with a lot less information than almost every other driver out there, and she is, as we've seen already in this race, quite willing to go very, very quickly to take the first opportunity to overtake and go past.
I suppose one blessing there would be she wouldn't have been able to hear the crunch as her Boxster was being folded at the front end during that one. But
no, as hopefully didn't her father, who's probably going to have to now be repairing that overnight. So before they head back to Scotland. So it's a bit of a shame there for that car, and it is a lovely car, particularly with that psychedelic livery on it that was actually worn by a 917 in period. So it's one of the classic liveries from back when the series actually you had to have a classic Porsche livery on your car or a livery inspired by such, and we've still got several cars out there actually still bearing those colour schemes. So it's fantastic. Now we're just going to keep an eye out. We had believe we've already had one very late safety car lights out and decision so far, so it's not impossible that as they come back into our sight we will be seeing racing again. We're going to be nudging down towards 10 minutes. It's that fantastic performance there, because that car is actually already off the circuit.
They managed to find a nice shortcut back into the pit lane for the recovery vehicles. So I would imagine, given the speed at which the safety car was pulled in last time we saw it, it will be a quick job, and I think the lights are out on the safety car. I think we will get racing again as Mike Thompson will take us away to start lap 9 Absolutely, we go green flag racing, and it's Johnny Lovell almost pushing Perry Darling's 81 car away from the start. In fact, he was so close he had to bail out of the throttle coming out of the final corner, because otherwise he'd have passed him before the start finish line. And Sarah Thompson has made a mistake coming out of target, and that is a big rotation. The back end has gone into the tyres, Paul, and that may be one nudge too many.
That's right. I think she saw actually Johnny Lovell get lift off when he tried to go past and really mistimed it, and saw an opportunity to carry some speed through on the exit. So big shame that car is now out as well, because I thought that's when some of the excitement was going to be in the final part of the race. Absolutely.
Unfortunately, it's not on the racing line or after an exit, but they continue to race until they see a yellow flag, I'm sure, as they run up into the twisty final sector of the racetrack. We will try and get a look at the leaders, because I know they were running very close to one another. That is Noble Evans against Wilkinson, but is that a change for position?
Not yet. That's actually Jess Wilkinson closing up on Fane.
It's Johnny Lovell who has got past Perry Darling over the course of that lap.
No, that's interesting. So that's Johnny Lovell now. As I say, he's been very, very consistent so far. We've actually seen, 3 wins, I think it is, from Johnny Lovell out of 4 races. So suddenly he's going to get the sniff of keeping that record going.
Consistent is not a word I would use to describe his experience at Anglesey so far today, but he's certainly getting away well. They're dealing with, I think they're dealing with the Sarah Thompson car with yellow flags. She's actually managed to get moving again. She's waiting for the field to come through, and several cars continuing to run wide on the dust and the dirt on the exit of turn 1 target corner and going on into the banking. So Sarah Thompson waiting for the field to come through, and then we'll try and get that car to limp home, I think, but I don't think we'll be back racing, and you can only hope she'll be back in action again tomorrow.
Very much so, yeah. You say Johnny Lovell pushing very hard. The car looked actually quite twitchy through the first corner as he went on. I wasn't quite sure if that was something on the grip level down there, or just how hard Johnny Lovell was pushing it. But
he is certainly pushing very, very hard indeed. The car looking very, very lively underneath him, and that continues to be Noble Evans versus Wilkinson, and Noble Evans getting Rocket in a little bit incorrect,
that's right.
Giving the impetus.
We saw early on that Jess Wilkinson is quite happy to drive around the outside of someone through that part of the circuit. So it's going to be a little bit of a pressure situation for Fane Noble Evans.
And Johnny Lovell then, with 7 minutes to run, is certainly within sight of the lead of this race. In fact, looking really strong out of the final corner comes Johnny Lovell to cross the line just 0.4 of a second behind the leader. And at one point in this race, prior to the safety car, he was 11.5 seconds behind the leader. So Mike Thompson absolutely not having this all his own way, and in fact he's forced to defend hard on the middle of the road on the entry into banking, and then it's Johnny Lovell who will get a more classic racing line launch out, but there's the ability to I think riding the curbs on the exit at banking, Paul, is actually very, very costly for your top speed through Church and then onto School. So I think the greedier the driver on the way into the banking and the way out, the less benefit they will actually gain. But Johnny Lovell right up alongside as they head into Rocket in this time. Wow, look at that, a beautiful switchback and a great overtake outside to inside. How do you like that one?
That is absolutely superb. I mean, worryingly, he made it look so easy. That's supposed to be actually quite hard to do. So I'm not sure whether Mike Thompson just went slightly away. Sarah Thompson, no relation, actually now in the pits. Sadly, some front end damage on that. The headlight's gone. The headlights are actually quite an expensive item. There's not many about anymore, unfortunately.
We'll need to put some stickers on that, I think, maybe, rather than fully replaced. But Johnny Lovell then lifting the front right as he goes through the corkscrew, still pushing incredibly hard, and he's now the leader of the race on lap 12, and he gets a 1 minute 19.862, while Darling gets the fastest lap of the race that time round. So it's not going Mike Thompson's way this final period, this last few minutes after the safety car period. It's clearly struggling to get performance out of the car in the latter stages of this race.
Very, very much so. Look further back, Fane Noble Evans was actually under pressure from Jess Wilkinson a couple of laps ago, but that gap's grown. So really, I think it's this lead battle, isn't it? Mike Thompson looked very, very quick through Church. You can see him visibly closing on the leader as they're heading up towards Rocket, and he's looking to the outside. There was no gap there. Now Johnny Lovell's moved to the outside himself to block and take the line that he wants. Can they all break it and turn in? Yes, they can. But again, Perry Darling inching closer.
Yeah, I think we are going to have a three-way battle at the end of this one. If Johnny Lovell can't gap this the rear two of the podium, I think we may end up with a hard-fought battle for the overall podium for all three drivers all the way to the end of this. 4 minutes 45 on the clock, so just a handful of laps to go. And your order is on lap at the end of lap 12. It is Lovell, Thompson, Darling, and then Sudera on his own with Noble, Evans and Wilkinson, Bridges, Carr-Henny and Wood, your 9-car field at the moment.
It is. Johnny Lovell goes on to another lap, inched out maybe a length over there. If he can pull out a little bit so that Mike Thompson starts to have to worry about Perry Darling, I think that's going to be his almost ideal situation. But I think this is going to be a tense one. This is one of those situations that's going to go down to the final. And as they come into a slight Jess Wilkinson has got past Faye Noble Evans. That was quite a gap last time round. So I'm thinking Faye Noble Evans has possibly made a mistake somewhere out of our sight.
Could well be. We can't keep our eyes on every corner and every car at once, but certainly the top three will be our focus, I'm sure, in the final 4 minutes, as Mike Thompson looks for a wider line entry into the school corner to give him a perhaps better view on the way into Rocket Inn. Closes up on under braking, as you will always find if you're later on those brakes. Or equal to the car in front, and then Darling is super close at the apex of Rocket out, but perhaps lost out slightly there, waiting for Mike Thompson to put his foot down and get going. But Johnny Lovell starting to build a gap through the tight stuff here. I think he's losing out, though, at the high speed sections.
It is, yeah. It's definitely a yo-yo situation with different cars stronger or different drivers stronger in different parts of the circuit. We're into that very technical. It looks a slow section, but this is where you can lose so much time. Leaders onto the pit straight. Johnny Lovell, again, another length clear to Mike Thompson from the lap before. And it really is, I think, that battle for second as we're going into the final minutes of this race. Just 3 minutes racing left. Yeah,
absolutely. Slow corners, they do look slow and they are difficult, but you spend a lot longer in them. So when you get one wrong, you are. That's why it is so much more costly than a minor mistake on a longer, more open corner. But Johnny Lovell has the lead still. It is just open to a second as they crossed the line last time. So Mike Thompson paying a lot more attention to his mirrors. But I think that top speed of Mike Thompson's, they should be very equal, these cars, but that top speed seems to be very impressive for Thompson's.
He always does seem to carry a lot of speed through that part of the circuit. Yeah. You're exactly right. Again, cars strong. There should be no difference at all. They're the same cars on the same power, at the same weight, on the same tyres. So should be no difference at all. But yeah, I think maybe it's just the confidence of Mike Thompson. His car feels really good under him, and he's willing just to carry more speed through that. That quite daunting, I think, Church Corner.
It is, absolutely. You are you're just looking at the ocean effectively as you head towards Church, and then again into school as this sort of mini little peninsula where the circuit sits. And then continuing on, Darling then closing in the corkscrew, and it does seem like whatever setup or driver preference is going on, it does seem that Mike Thompson really struggles through the twisty stuff relative to the other two that he's now fighting with, and it will be Darling who will make an attempt next, I think, as he dives down the inside into the banking, but already turning into that apex is Mike Thompson, and managing to stay ahead once again with that more classic racing line there, Paul.
Very much so, and I think that almost cost Perry Darling a length or two. And this is, I think, where Mike Thompson is strong. We've seen him strong in this part of the circuit before, visibly pulling away from Perry Darling, and I think visibly actually closing on our leader at this point. Very, very quick. I just think that, Mike Thompson and Church Corner seem to go hand in hand at the moment.
They are very, very well paired. But unfortunately, as they close into the braking of Rocket Inn, and then when you see them compress through Peel and the corkscrew, that's where he really seems to struggle. And unfortunately for him, that is where the overtaking opportunities are going to be. It's very rare to make a move with these equalised performance cars down the straights.
That's right, yeah. If we see that, then that's the sort of thing that gets our scrutineer nervous, basically. We start checking things on the car. Lead three, though, coming back in. I think going to come back in now through the corkscrew. We see Johnny Lovell there, nice, taking that apex, waiting patiently to get on the power and actually get the car in a straight line, heading on to what will be his last racing lap.
Yeah, last lap board has gone out, so it's now or never for Darling against Mike Thompson to claim that second place. I think the win might have got away from Darling as long as Lovell can carry on and avoid any further mishaps or mistakes. Down again, similar line. So Perry not taking any new line approach through the corner, doesn't want to follow Mike Thompson, particularly on line through there. And Thompson with a brilliant launch out of the banking. Lovell with a slightly slow one, and I think Lovell's going to be defending if they get all the way around to Rocket.
It is Mike Thompson again, that car visibly quick around that part of the circuit. And very, very confident. He's actually heading up the hill now. Again, just that fraction too far back. You'd have to be super brave on the brakes to try from there.
Certainly, and we've seen it a few times at this race meeting, but currently Lovell will now be defending hard through Rocket out and very, very much sitting on the apex. He can get away from there very well indeed, because the car behind you is still rotating, and Perry might be looking for a sneaky one into the corkscrew. We've seen a few moves going on through here, but the short squirt down towards Peel, down towards this corkscrew they go. And I think, well, with a lock up on the right front as the undulation takes effect, it looks like it's going to be Johnny Lovell as he comes out of the final corner, all clear, and it wins again this Boxster Cup race and beats Mike Thompson and Perry Darling, who finished 1-2-3 after starting 1-2-4, but that was far from the tail of the tape.
That was a fantastic race. Now coming in Vikram Sudera to take fourth, and we're just looking across, and it's Jess Wilkinson. This is actually going to be her best ever finish, with a 5th place crossing the line now. Car 33 instead of ahead of Faye Noble Evans in the pink number 20, and Eric Bridges in the purple and green at number 38, Boxster S.
Yep, and we've got 2 more cars then still circulating. This is Kyle Henney crossing the line to finish in 8th place, some 33 seconds off the race lead. The fastest lap went to Perry Darling, so some consolation from that run, and it looks like it will be Sarah Wood who will bring the car home, the last of the classified finishers, very shortly. I'm still waiting to see where she is. Coming into the corkscrew now, so we'll bring that car home. But tremendous race from the top 3, really entertaining, and Lovell with a brilliant recovery.
It was very, very exciting, actually. Yeah, a little bit of a dramatic race. It's a shame that we had a safety car punctuating it, but it did close all those gaps up. It did mean that we almost had a reset on the race and a chance to go and see it happen again. And yeah, fantastic. And of course, all these racers here get to do it again tomorrow. So let's hope that the cars that we did see damaged in that race are repairable, and we can enjoy another round of this tomorrow afternoon.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for your expertise. I will take us through the final order, but we will enjoy hearing your voice later on. So we have from Johnny Lovell finishing ahead of Mike Thompson and Perry Darling, Vikram Sudera, and then followed by Jessica Wilkinson, Faye Noble Evans. We've got Eric Bridges in 7th, Zoe Kyle Henney in P8, followed by Sarah Wood, last of the classified finishers. And then we saw what befell Sarah Thompson, a couple of moments. One very much not her doing on the opening lap, where she crunched the nose and bent the shape of that bonnet, and then second, following closely behind Vikram Sudera, spinning through the exit of turn 1, and also Graham and Goff failed to finish. We'll be back with further commentary of our next session very shortly.